Mastering the Passive Voice, a comprehensive guide. Hello, language learners. Welcome back to another episode of our English language learning series. Today we're going to focus on an important part of English grammar, the passive voice. Understanding the passive voice is critical for developing a solid command of the English language, and today, we will be focusing on its definition and uses. To begin, let's discuss what the passive voice is. In English, we have two main types of voices, the active voice and the passive voice. Today's spotlight is on the passive voice. In grammar, voice is all about the relationship between the subject and the verb in a sentence. In the passive voice, the subject of the sentence is acted upon by the verb, meaning the subject receives the action rather than doing it. For example, consider the sentence, "The cake was eaten by John." In this case, the cake subject is being acted upon by the action, eaten. To understand the passive voice better, it's helpful to contrast it with the active voice. In the active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. Using the same example, in active voice we would say, "John ate the cake." Here, John, subject, is performing the action, eating. Comparing these two sentences, you can see how the subject and object switch roles when moving from active to passive voice. Now that we understand the definition of the passive voice, let's look at why and when we should use it. Passive voice is typically used when 1. The person or thing receiving the action is more important or should be emphasized. For example, a masterpiece was painted by Picasso. Here, the emphasis is on the masterpiece, not Picasso. 2. The doer of the action is unknown, irrelevant, or obvious. For example, my phone was stolen. We don't know who stole the phone, so passive voice is appropriate. Remember, neither the active nor passive voice is better or worse than the other. They are simply different tools you can use to construct your sentences, depending on what you want to emphasize. That wraps up our discussion on the definition of passive voice. We hope this video has shed some light on the topic and given you a better understanding of how and when to use the passive voice in English. Keep practicing and stay tuned for our next lesson, where we'll dive deeper into converting passive voice to active voice. Until then, keep learning and happy studying.